At 83, I was asked to speak to a group of executives in their 40s and 50s. I spent a week preparing. I threw out every draft that sounded like a motivational speech. What I wrote instead was a list of things I had gotten completely wrong, the beliefs that cost me and the realities I'd resisted that would have saved me. Here is that list. I called it, What I'd Tell My 50-Year-Old Self If He'd Listen. The room was very quiet. Several people found me afterward. None of them wanted to argue. Most of them said some version of, I knew some of this. I just hadn't heard it said that plainly. That is why I'm saying it plainly now. Not to make you feel good, to make sure you actually hear it. Here are the 15 things. The respect you spend decades trying to earn from colleagues, from your industry, from people who barely know you. I need you to understand what it actually feels like when you have it. It feels like nothing in particular. It does not make you feel secure. It does not fill anything. The admiration of people you work with will not hold you at 2 a.m. The respect of your family, on the other hand, is something you will need until your last day. The amount of money in your account has almost no relationship to your actual sense of security. I know people who are very comfortable financially who cannot sleep, and people with modest savings who feel entirely settled. Security is a feeling. Money is a tool. They are not the same thing. Security is built from elsewhere, from relationships, from health, from having lived according to your own values. The money helps. It is not the thing. Professional success built on the wreckage of your health is not success. It is a transaction. You trade your body's long-term function for short-term achievement, and you collect the results in your 60s and 70s when the bills come due. I have watched brilliant, accomplished people spend their retirement years managing the consequences of what they did to themselves in their 50s. The career was over. The damage stayed. I spent years working toward a specific position. The moment I had it, it felt ordinary within 6 months. Not disappointed, just settled. There was always another thing. The achievement itself was not the problem. The belief that it would finally feel like enough. That was the problem. No title will ever feel like enough if enough is not a thing you've decided to believe in. The opinion of people you don't deeply admire is not worth a single compromised decision. Not one. I spent years making choices about my work, my appearance, my associations, partly to manage the perception of people whose judgment I did not actually respect. At 92, I cannot name most of them. I can still feel the weight of the decisions I made for their benefit. Every relationship in your life that matters requires consistent, deliberate maintenance, or it will quietly die. Not through conflict, through neglect, through the assumption that it is durable enough to survive another month of distance. I lost close friendships in my 40s and 50s. I never recovered. They did not end in argument. They simply ran out of the attention I kept meaning to give them. The people closest to you, your spouse, your children, are absorbing the cost of your ambition. The missed evenings, the distracted dinners, the presence that is technically there but somewhere else in its attention. They are covering the gap. They are adapting to your limitations. They just don't send you the invoice. The accounting happens later, and you pay it in the currency of regret. I did not apologize to my older brother for something I had done until it was too late to apologize. 25 years of avoidance. He died before I did it. An apology cost you almost nothing. A moment of discomfort, the brief sting of admitting fault. The refusal to give one cost you decades of a relationship and quietly your own self-respect. The math is not complicated. Loneliness in middle age and beyond is not a personality problem. It is not introversion. It is the predictable result of not making consistent effort with people who matter. I watched very sociable men become profoundly lonely in their 60s because they had coasted on the social infrastructure of their careers and built nothing underneath it. When the career stopped, there was nothing there. Your children are paying far closer attention to how you actually live than to anything you tell them about how to live. The values they absorb from you are not the ones in the speeches. They are the ones demonstrated in ordinary decisions. How you treat people who can do nothing for you, whether you keep your word, how you handle failure, whether you show up when showing up is inconvenient. They are watching. They always are. The tiredness you override in your 50s becomes the diagnosis in your 60s. The body is keeping a record of every override, every week of poor sleep, every month of unaddressed stress, every year of pushing through signals it was sending. The record is not erased. It is presented in time as a bill, and the bill arrives without a payment plan. Your body will perform remarkably at almost any age if properly cared for, and it will fail quietly if not. I have known men who were physically vital at 80 and men who were depleted at 62. The difference was not luck. It was decades of different decisions about sleep, food, movement, and stress. The body does not fail randomly. It fails along the lines of how it was treated. Everything in your life that can be postponed will be postponed. This is a law, not an observation. The trip, the project, the conversation, the change you have been meaning to make, left to its own momentum, it will move indefinitely into the future. The only thing that stops it is a decision made now, today, before the next reason to wait presents itself. Start the thing. From where I stand at 92, the years between 55 and 70 are extraordinary. Energy is still genuinely available, mind fully capable, more freedom than at any earlier point. Most people treat this window as the beginning of winding down. I am telling you, it is the last window in which almost everything is still possible. Treat it that way. It will not come around again. At 92, individual minutes can feel long. Decades feel like afternoons. When I look back at 20 years, it appears as a single season. One chapter, one particular quality of light. You're inside a chapter right now that will one day look like a moment. The time you think you have is not the time you have. Act now, inside this chapter, while it still has pages left. I gave 40 years to getting most of these wrong. Some I got right eventually. Some I got right too late to fully use. None of these truths is complicated. None required unusual wisdom or intelligence to understand. They required someone to say them plainly at a moment when I was willing to hear them. I am saying them plainly now. What you do with them is entirely up to you.